Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I am Tracina Cash. I'm Vice President of Corporate Relations and Strategic Partnerships for the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council. We're very happy to have you here today for our workshop session called Ramping Up Recruitment Practices in the New Normal, to be led by Brittany Evans. Brittany is a native of Detroit, Michigan, and a Hampton University alumni. She started her career in broadcast journalism and as a writer and producer of the documentary Prison for the Black Masculinity Project. She recognized her passion to bring awareness and change to social inequities. An industry ninja with previous experience in supportive services, employment-based training, recruitment, sales, and contingent labor program management, Brittany has innovated and identified new staffing solutions. Currently, she is the key account DEI director at Pittsburgh based CEI. Brittany is leading staffing partnership efforts and working hard to break the professional ceiling for men, women, and people of color. Combined with a well articulated strategy, Brittany uses her over 12 years of experience to drive conversation, inspire change, and ultimately level the playing field in the corporate and technology spaces. We ask that you take note of the poll questions that Brittany has placed to the right of your screen. We'd like to thank our sponsors today, and everybody help me to welcome Brittany Evans.
Thank you, Trishina, and thank you to the EMSDC team for having me. As mentioned, there are some poll questions. I'm going to give you guys just a brief minute while I introduce myself and the company. And while I'm doing that, go ahead and answer those poll questions to the right of your screen. We'll be using those in our conversation. So today's workshop is interactive. Although I am on stage now, there's going to be an opportunity not only for you to share your thoughts and opinions based on via the poll, but also share during a Q&A session at the end. So again, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the introduction. And as Trishina mentioned, my name is Brittany Evans. I'm the Director of DE&I and Key Accounts at CEI. CEI is a minority-owned staffing and solutions firm with expertise in several areas, including advisory services, solutions, managed services, and high-volume staffing. My specific expertise and experience really hits home in service delivery and contingent labor management. I focused on diverse recruitment, and that's given me an opportunity to look at hiring from all sides of the business. I've had a glance at every angle of it, and so it gives me a lot of insight as to how to approach the market. So let's talk a little bit about the market here. While you're finishing up your poll questions, we're just going to state some obvious, right? With the economy and the job market making a comeback, you may have heard these key phrases or something like war on talent. And so if you've heard that, then obviously you're familiar with what's going on in the industry. Today, I'm excited to share with you some of my expertise so that we can, begin to assist you with hiring in a market where we have more jobs than we have more people. And I'm here to help you answer the question. The question today is, how do you get the talent that you want? So in today's session, I'm going to walk through a few ways to attract talent. I'm going to talk about some tips on how to use speed to your competitive advantage. I'll leave some time again for open discussion, Q&A, and to go through the polls. And we're going to take a little bit of time at the end to dig into tactical approach and, again, answer any questions that you may have. Before we get started, like I had mentioned, we do have the poll. And I want to learn a little bit about everyone in the room. So I'm going to change my view here and see if I can pull the poll. If not, Trishina, are you able to see it? I believe I might be able to. One second here. All right, perfect. So we don't have any polls yet in here. I'm not sure where they went, but that's okay. We'll just keep moving along. So before we get started, I did want to kind of get a feel for who was in the room. Let's just improvise, and you can use the chat section or the Q&A. If you're a job seeker, a hiring manager, a search firm, If you were a DEI consultant or with a nonprofit or community organization, please go ahead and drop it in the feed there. And that'll be a great way for me to be able to know who I'm speaking with today. So thank you for that. Alrighty, so let's just dive right into it. I think whether you're a hiring manager, whether you're a staffing agency, if you're a candidate seeking employment, the challenge is, and it's just across the board, it's competition. So winning top talent in this market really requires more than company reputation and a job description nowadays. Companies are really rolling out the red carpet across the board to become more attractive, while job seekers are tightening their requirements for employment. And so if you could think back to the time where interviews had that awkward question at the end and people would ask, so, do you have any questions for me? And it was always like, I'm not sure. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And you came up with something. It's a lot different now. The market has changed. So job seekers are asking questions, and companies have to be prepared to answer those. So people are asking questions about culture. They want to know the values of the company. How are they engaging? What's the community involvement? How are you investing in your employees? Or are you developing your talent? What's your work-life balance look like? They're asking a ton of questions, and essentially they want to know, do you care, and how are your employees being treated? So let me make this a little bit more real. Microsoft, Google, Facebook. We're just going to take 3 of the largest tech companies and put them out there. They're investing in redesigning their office spaces. They're making their campuses more attractive. They're appealing to talent, right? That's what they're doing. In addition to companies like Microsoft, and you've got Amazon, who is another large name. They're incorporating signing bonuses into their hiring strategy. Some companies are paying for college tuition. You've got other people going as far as waiving the entire interview process and just saying, you're hired. It's a completely different landscape than we've ever seen before. And progressive organizations are taking action right now. They're making moves, they're making changes. And whether it's redesigning the campus or signing bonus checks, they're doing something different. They understand that you have to have a key differentiator in this space. And so if it's not in this year's plan or budget for you to redesign your campus or sign $3,000 checks, that's okay. We're here today for me to talk to you about a couple of tactical tips so that you can attract the talent that you want. So back in April, let's go back a little bit. Forbes mentioned that they had 7 million jobs posted online. So I'm going to say that again, 7 million jobs were posted online, and it's unreal. This is unlike any other time that we've seen before because the pandemic has changed so many things. The pandemic has brought out not only job opportunities, but people are at home. It forced us into a work condition where working from home or being hybrid is normal. It's generated a lot of conversation as to whether companies need on-site talent. You've got a lot of people who have decided that they're going to leave the corporate world and become an entrepreneur. There are so many different things that are happening. And so the question is, what do companies really need for a collaborative and productive workplace? And I don't think that it means always having an on-site talent. So I did have a question, which do you prefer? Again, let's use our messages here and go ahead and drop it in. Do you prefer to work remote, hybrid, on-site, or a flexible schedule? And we can go back and look at that data later when we have our Q&A. So if you want to just drop it in, that'd be great. So moving forward into kind of what companies are doing. So Prudential conducted a study, and they found that 1 out of 3 American workers do not want to work for a company that requires employees to be on site full time. So you've got candidates that have access to opportunities beyond the local market, and full-time on-site requirements might be a roadblock to you attracting your talent. So if the requirement is to be back in the office, and that still exists, and you've got, needs that are just, you have to fill on-site, then you might want to consider some other options. You might want to consider offering a hybrid model, or maybe even half-a-day Fridays. Or if you've got a lot of working parents on your team, maybe consider a flexible work day, right? That allows you time to pick up your little one and then work the remainder of the day from home. But you have to be able to be comfortable with having a flexible schedule or work style of some sort to be competitive. So we covered the why, okay? We dove into some numbers. We've got the statistics. We have an understanding of what the market looks like. We understand war on talent, what that means. I want to dive into the hiring process, but I wouldn't be myself if I didn't have a let's make it relatable moment, right? So I'm going to ask you to look at this a little bit different than you have before. If I've got CEI people in the room, don't call HR. I'm going to say something strange. Hiring is like dating, okay? Now, not all the way like dating, but just work with me. Now that the awkward part's out the way, here's what I mean. Some people are finding it that in this market, it's very difficult to find talent. If you've ever dated, it's the same thing sometimes. So let's dig a little bit deeper. We learned during the pandemic that we were a little bit more agile than we thought. We adapted quickly to virtual meetings, and we started to even adapt to meeting people virtually. And so with that, there was a significant spike in the number of people that embraced online dating. So we're going to look at hiring and dating and kind of see if there's similarity here and if we can steal some things from the dating pool. So hiring, the hiring pool is huge, right? You've got, millions of people available, similar to the dating pool. Let's take Tinder, for example. Tinder has 57 million users in 2021. And so that's a pretty big pool to work with. So let's say we're on Tinder. Your job description, that's going to be your profile, okay? You're building a profile for yourself. You've got your nice picture up there. You're ready to swipe left or right. Your goal is basically to attract people that are a good fit for you, your organization, right? Your brand. So 57 million users. This should be super easy, right? To find someone, you set up your filters, you start your search. So what do we start with? We've got our radius. Let's put in 10 miles. Height requirement, 5'9". That's a great height. Age requirement, 42. Drinker, sure, socially. Must have dark hair, must be an extrovert, must love karate movies, and must love eating pizza. And so this is easy. Everyone's going to fall into this. That is a perfect match for you. You're ready to hit search, start scrolling, and nothing. Zero. Come up short. It's not that the app is broken, but somehow out of millions of people, you've managed to create a requirement that not one person fits. Now, let me take it back to hiring and staffing. How do you get the right match? In staffing and hiring, we are having conversations every day about how do we find talent? Where do we find talent? The first thing is, and in staffing and in DEI conversations, we hear things like diverse hiring is the right thing to do. Absolutely. It's the right thing to do. It sounds great. I like to say, let's just make it the thing to do. See, with regional and national organizations, or you've got EMSDC, for example, you've got diverse professional networks, community-focused training programs that are working and doing the work hands on the ground to close skill gaps. It might be just taking an opportunity to look in areas you haven't looked before. So you have to cultivate talent in new places and you bring those new ideas. But most importantly, start to look for people who may have been overlooked in previous searches. I've got a little bit more though. Ask yourself, do you have a job description or a wish list? So if your job description looks more like a Christmas list, you might want to rethink it. If you're working with sourcing partners or you're working with an MSP or an agency, you may have heard a question like, can we have a call to better understand the need? So when you say things like, absolutely, well, I'm only looking for, a local Ivy League graduate that was at their last job for a minimum of 10 years. It's kind of like asking for what we would call a purple squirrel. Right? In staffing, that's what we say when we say this is kind of tough or maybe even impossible. The thing is that some of the other descriptions that people come up with are so generic that the candidates don't even know what they're applying for, and the staffing firms are just hoping that they land the right person for you. So let me help you out here. Some of the things that we can do, let's get tactical. If you're writing a description and if you need some notes, go ahead and take them. Start with information about your company. If you don't know about the company, go to the company website, pull up the culture, talk about the team, talk about your team, maybe even incorporate some of your own experience with the team and why you love working where you do. Talk about why the position is open. Having that understanding that it's a net new position, that shows growth. People are interested in growth. Oh, you're opening new roles, and it's not that people are quitting or they're leaving, but these are new opportunities. Talk about if it's a backfill for maternity leave. That might answer the question to why the position's only 4 or 5 months long. Give people a little bit more information that you might be used to. You want to highlight your 3 top applications or tools or technologies, depending on the role. Then you want to highlight the experience necessary to do the job. And then here's a new one. Talk about the value that that position brings to the team or the department. Make it so that the person recognizes their worth early on so that they don't have to figure it out later. And then it's also best to include those perks we talked about, flexible work days, half-day Fridays, maybe a mental health day every so often, or whatever it is that you feel is going to attract the talent to your company or organization. And then after you tweak a few things and you've got your description, now you're attracting talent. Now you've made it easier too for your search partner, if you have one, to sell your opportunity. And then the last piece is trust your sourcing partner. So if you come to CEI and you say, hey, we need your help. We need 500 technology professionals, software developers, and we say, easy, we've got that. CEI is going to go the extra mile, right, for you to save you time in our tech screening process. So we use a specialized process where we have tech employees that screen the candidates before submitting the resume. And then that saves you not only time, but it gives you some peace of mind to know that we did our due diligence before you even saw that candidate. Think of that as like your friend knowing somebody and sending you off on a blind date. Feels a little bit more comfortable than just not knowing the person at all. So we've taken some time now to go through the job description. So what else is important? We take the filters off. You take all of those silly kind of requirements that really aren't requirements. They're more like, I think I like this because this is what I'm comfortable with. We remove those, and now it's really time to swipe left or right because you finally got some talent in front of you that you've opened up your talent pool. So we're swiping left and right. Left and right is a simple yes or no. If you've ever been on a dating app, your options are yes or no. There's no like, let me look and hold on to this talent for a couple of minutes until I feel comfortable, or let me look at 5 or 6. It's simply a match or not. So in hiring, time to fill can be one of the most painful pieces of the interview process. And so for many reasons, you've got delayed interviews, lack of scheduling, lack of feedback, and that's really the reason for lost talent. And a lot of people end up finding themselves going round and round with hiring because they are not making decisions quickly enough. So I want to bring this back to dating. Can you imagine meeting someone, whether it's on an app or in person, and they say, hey, you seem really great, but do you mind giving me some time to, like, I don't know, meet some other people and see what those people are like, and then I'll come back to you and maybe call you then? How upsetting. That's the same thing for a candidate. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel like you care. They want to feel like you're interested in them. And the last thing they want to hear is that you're sitting around piling up resumes, waiting to match everyone against each other instead of just taking a look and making the decision to see if they're good or not. So I've got another poll question out there. I did see that we may have had them filled out, but I'm going to scroll over these. But I did ask a question about how long are you willing to wait for an interview before you lose interest? And how many interviews are you willing to go on before you tap out? We'll go over those answers later. So here's what we do know. We've got candidates aren't waiting. Competitors are moving quickly. What can you do to make sure that the interview is a smooth process now that you've got these people in front of you? If you like the profile, we said swipe left. Basically, that means schedule the call now. Stop waiting. Stop looking at the calendar. Don't do it after your vacation. Don't do it after you get back from some long trip. Do it now, because if you like the profile, it's likely that good talent won't be there very long, and you don't want to miss out on an opportunity. And then if you go on vacation, you're probably going to reset your recruitment process all over again, and you're going to have to find new talent. But you also want to determine who your decision makers are ahead of time. I think that's another issue that we're seeing, is that a lot of times you've got so many people that are involved at kind of the last minute. So make sure that you've got those decision makers ahead of time, and then block times for interviewing in advance before you even have candidates. Let's go ahead and mark some times that we're going to interview. Let's knock it out. Let's have a debrief after each one, and then we make a decision. And if you can provide those times and dates to your sourcing partners. And then when the role is released or they're beginning to look for talent, they can help to set expectation and keep people warm as well. That helps with their conversations. Again, trying to avoid long gaps, long interviews, or vacations. Try to avoid anything that's going to extend the process out. And most importantly, for every single person, this is probably the most important rule, always provide feedback or follow-up. The worst thing that you can do, and it hurts your brand, it hurts your company, it hurts people's feelings, is to ghost someone. So if your position closes because of budget, just say so. If you're not looking anymore just because you filled the need internally, or you do like the candidate, or you just need additional time to think on it, or whatever it is, always provide feedback. That feedback is going to go a long way in having your candidates trust. It's going to help your sourcing partner begin to trust you, and it's going to keep everyone involved and engaged. And you don't want to lose everyone's involvement and engagement, especially if you're using sourcing partners. So whether you move forward with an offer or a declination, you want to make sure that you always provide that follow-up and feedback. So now, obviously, there's a lot more to recruitment. There's a lot more to hiring, but with a short amount of time, I just wanted to give you guys some quick tips, because again, we are in a really unique market. I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to talk about that market, and to talk about maybe some other potential pain points, since we're in a completely new type of job market. So I'd like to open up the floor to anyone who would like to join in with any questions or feedback. And then I'm also happy to answer any of the questions that are in the feed. I'm going to go ahead and look here to see if there's anything in the feed. And I don't see anything quite yet. Let's see if we have any questions here. Okay, I don't see any. And Trishina, I can't see the polls here, but I do want to go ahead and open up the floor for any questions or feedback that we might have.
Brittany, so we do have poll responses. I can show those to you if you like.
That'd be great. Let's start there. All right, so we had, for those responsible for hiring, how are you handling recruitment? So 60% of the individuals are handling in-house, none using a third party, and then 40% a combination of both. So a lot of you guys are responsible for managing. So it's, again, hopefully this content that we covered today was good for you to understand and moving quickly, because again, if you're handling that all on your own, you've got a lot of weight on your shoulders. Which do you prefer, remote, on-site, or hybrid, or on-site with flexible hours? So this is unique. No one said that they were interested in remote work, 0%. We had 0% for on-site as well, which is not necessarily surprising. Hybrid, it seems to be that people are really leaning toward that. And so as we have these conversations, that might be something to consider. If we're in the industry and as professionals, we feel like hybrid's a good option, you might want to start to consider when you're hiring talent that they might feel that same way. And then on-site with flexible hours was also at 16.67%. So that's interesting to see. But again, very much in line with what we're saying. After applying, how long are you willing to wait for feedback before you lose interest? This is really interesting. So 33.33% answered 24 to 48 hours. That's a very short amount of time. A week at 33%, a few weeks at 33%, and then we had no one willing to wait a month and no one willing to take as long as you need. So that also, again, in line with what it is that we're talking about here, if you all aren't waiting, The talent's not waiting. So we need to make sure that we're moving very quickly, especially for those that said 24 to 48 hours. They want to hear from you right away, or else they're on to the next one. How many interviews are you willing to go before you tap out? One and done. Nobody feels that confident. 100% of the people said 2 to 3. So this is another big one because 0% said 4 to 5 and no one said that 6 or more. I've heard of companies doing panel interviews that are all day long. We've heard of companies that have you scheduled to meet with every single leader, and that's a month or 2 long process of interviewing. People get exhausted. Just the same as, your time is valuable, theirs is too. And so we do, again, just in making some quick decisions, we've got the data here to support it, and also the industry and market to say, you probably want to speed some things up here because we're noticing people they're not waiting around. Then we've got, for those hiring, what part of the process is most challenging? 80% said finding talent, not surprised. 20% said creating the job description. So for the individual that said creating the job description, I hope I was able to give you some tips today. And those things were valuable. And if you want to talk more about that, more than happy to go through how we can build those out for you. CI is more than happy to help you. And then of course, I wanted to get to know some people. So who was all in the room? So we've got 50% at sourcing or staffing partners. And we've got entrepreneurs, and then management, leadership, and then community and nonprofit partners, just to give you guys some understanding of who's with us today. So again, this was very important to me because I believe in this. Stuff. I'm passionate about the work. Like I said, I worked on the MSP side, so I saw how slowly things moved at times. I worked on the staffing side, and I've been pushing for things to move. And I understand the hiring managers sometimes not necessarily feeling comfortable. So we want to make it relatable, and feel free to steal the dating reference if you need to, because we want to make it comfortable for people, or something that they're at least familiar with. And sometimes when you break it down that way, it just makes people understand that they need to move a little bit more quickly. And then at the end of the day, they might not need to have so many requirements that truly aren't requirements, but maybe are preferences.
Excellent. Brittany, we do have a question. Susan Pandy is asking, with tech, what is the scope of video, resume, or such tools for hiring?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
She says, with tech, what is the scope of video resume or using such tools for hiring?
So I want to make sure I answer this question correctly for you. But what I think that you're asking is, with technology, what are we doing, or maybe what's the landscape look like with people using video resume? There are some companies. So in the VMS tools, if you're familiar with the MSP space, if you've got VMS tools, or even some companies that have adopted VMS tools without the MSP, there are those capabilities for people to have video resumes. One of the things that a lot of companies have done is that they have incorporated that as an option. But one of the other pieces is that you want them to make sure that the resume is kind of speaking for itself, and that we're not, looking at the individual, how their speaking style, or whether they presented well in a video. So I know a lot of companies are on the fence about it. Not sure how many have embraced or adopted that as a practice, 100% to source and identify talent. But I do know that there are a couple of VMS tools that offer that as a capability. I can see a new question. It's so common to wrap up an interview with, well, we have a few more candidates to meet. We'll be in touch soon. This is a great question. What alternatives do you recommend? I am the biggest advocate for telling the person in the moment. So let's just play, right? So let's say that I'm just going to pick on someone in the crowd. Let's say I just interviewed Valerie. She did an amazing job, and I do have other people to take a look at. So I'd say something like, Valerie was amazing, speaking with you today. I'm really impressed by, and put in maybe some of those things that you're impressed by. We're excited that you have these skills, give them some constructive feedback. We're really looking for an individual who can do the things that you're doing here. We do have some additional interviews, and then maybe even give them a date. We'll have those interviews wrapped up by Friday so that they know what to expect. After Friday, we'll be getting back to your vendor, or after Friday, we'll be getting back to you directly, and we should at least have some type of decision made, by Monday morning at the latest. But we really do appreciate your time. And if you give those type of details, it doesn't leave that kind of eerie feeling of, did I do well? Did I not? Are they interested? Am I going to hear back from them? When? How long? You're giving them a timeline, and you're also giving them some feedback. And if depending on just how bold you are, you may even want to say, here's what we were looking to see and we didn't quite see that. If you already know that you're going to say no to the talent, you don't want to break their heart, but there are ways to go about kind of explaining, hey, this is what we were looking to see. We're going to continue to search, but we will keep you under consideration because you do have the skills here, here, and here. So there are ways to do it. I'm more than happy to talk to you more about that, though. What are some incentives employers can offer to attract talent? Well, you can restore your campus and add ping pong tables. So you've got Microsoft and all these big companies that are doing these cool things. If you're a smaller company or firm, you can do things like offer, create your own little holidays, offer things like half-a-day Fridays every, once a month, or incorporate things like mental health days for your employees so that they can take some time. Or there's a company, and I can't think of the name of them right now, but every Friday they've implemented no virtual meetings at all on Friday. They don't take any virtual meetings. They do work remote, but none on Friday unless it's, an important meeting. But they're trying to give people kind of some time back to catch up on administrative things or just organize their day or be able to take care of home too. So there are a bunch of different things. And again, happy to have more conversation there as well. But there are a bunch of different ways that you can go about implementing some of these, creative red carpet strategies for your candidates. Any additional questions? I thought I saw one more, but I'm not sure. How would you wrap up with a promising candidate without giving false hope if you do have more people to interview? So similar to what I said earlier, just tell them where they met the requirements. I like your experience here, here, and here. I've got 3 or 4 more candidates to interview over the course of the week or a week and a half. I should be wrapped up by next Thursday, and I'm planning to make a decision by Friday. So regardless, you'll hear back from me at least by next Friday. And if something happens, I'll make sure that I provide you with an update. So just giving people a timeline, that's really all we're looking for. And I think that we just break this down to just treating people in the best way we possibly can. And so if you know that you would want to know, when are you wrapping up? How soon, am I going to wait? If we go back off of our results, some of y'all aren't waiting more than 48 hours. So if they tell you next week, I guess you're out the door already. But the reality of it is that give them a time, give them a date so that they can have or manage expectation, and that you can follow up with them accordingly. Any other questions? These are great questions, by the way. Any additional? And make sure I'm not missing one. Well, if there aren't any additional questions, I know we're, getting close to time here. I do want to invite everyone to feel free to reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn. Obviously, CI, we're more than a staffing firm. We are a valuable partner. We're happy to help you walk through building job descriptions, talking through talent. We can have more conversation on the market. And we really just want to be a partner. So please feel free to reach out to me. And if given the opportunity, I'm happy to be a resource to you or provide a little bit more information to you and your teams. And I see Trishina back on. So I also want to, again, take this time to thank Trishina, for hosting this event. I really appreciate your time. Valerie, thank you for having me. EMSDC team, you're doing an amazing and phenomenal job with this. I'm super excited to join the rest of the workshops today. I've been following along with them, so I'm going to pop myself in some. But I want also to make sure that I thank all of you for attending, and hopefully you found this session to be extremely valuable. And again, reach out if you need me.
Brittany, thank you so much. This was an awesome session. We really appreciate the expertise that you lent to this conversation today. Everyone, thank you for joining us and for also sharing your questions and your experiences with us also. We hope that you will continue to stay with us today for our conference. Our next session will be Managing the Cost of Risk and Health. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Brittany, thank you so much. Thank you, CEI.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a phenomenal day.